listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to Upptalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say Upptalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
We were about to learn what are encoding characters. I'll just close this one. Encoding characters. You might have observed every HL7 message has encoding character present as part of message.2. And message is the mandatory segment present in any trigger event. I would say these are the special set of characters which plays a meaning within the HL7 formation of the message. What is that meaning they are playing? Char, it is the component separator. Then your tilde is. Yesterday you learned, you understood. What is char? Whenever we have to write more than one component within a field, we need to use char it. But the question is, can we write more than one component in any field? It is based on the specification. We need to look into the specification. If the specification is complex, meaning the field is holding a data type which is complex, then only you can write more than one component. Escape separator or escape sequence. Then what is next? Your map-person, which is subcomponent. And then last is the hash, which is truncation separator. Now very important, this is also a H7 V2 exam question where they will mention what are the default encoding characters within a HL7 V2 message. And they will give you 4 options. And they will just jumble these. Now let's say they will just start with tilde and then they will just move char it here and there. And the other thing, they will start with hash. And might be something like this. This might be confusing when you will look into either first one, second one or third one. Or they might create more options for you. But how do you remember? Is there an easy way that I can remember? It starts with char, it ends with hash, and it has tilde, then slash, then me%. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, it is definitely crest. If you remember the keyword crest, it will help you write the encoding characters in the sequence. Another question is, can you change the sequence of encoding character meaning? Can you write tilde first, then component separator? Answer is no. It has to be in the same sequence with the formation of crest. C is the component separator repetition separator, escape sequence subcomponent separator, and truncation separator. You might not see truncation separator added in most of the samples because it was introduced, I think, after 2.4. And it is rarely used also. Let me first start with you understood what is component separator and all of the other thing. Let's first look into what is the truncation separator. Now let's look into the truncation character considering niche type 10. We'll look into one of the item mesh to 10, where mesh h10, if you go to the specification, it will tell you that it is message control ID. It's a unique grid or a unique ID for each transaction. And it is of 199 characters. And I have told you that you can definitely reduce the number of characters which needs to be transmitted to the end application. Now considering hospital information system is sending you ADT HL1 message, or let's not talk about it. We will talk about HL7 message. Normal HL7 message. When HAI is sending it to you, you need to send it to app1. App1 is having a constraint on mesh titan that it has to be max 10 characters. But your source application is sending minimum 15 characters. How do you do it? In this case, what you will do is you will take first 9 characters from the incoming string. And you will concatenate it with hash. It goes like hash will tell you that the string has been truncated. How hash will work is it works as n-1. For example, now your application supports 10 characters. You need to take n-3 is 10 minus 1, which is 9. You will take 9 characters from the incoming string. And you will add a hash. And application will understand that the data has been truncated from here. And very rarely you will see the data being truncated because it is a clinical data. Nobody would like to truncate even a single dot from a report or even from the order, anything of that sort. It is just, you should be aware that in case it happens, this is the usage of truncation character. For example, let's consider the same example. This is our NSH10 value. Considering, as I said, your application, one only accepts max of 10 characters. Now, first let's see how many characters are there. It says the incoming sample is sending you 24 characters. Now, in case your end application supports only 10 characters, and this can happen only for the non-clinical fields because this is a transaction ID. Might be they will say that we don't support a bigger transaction control, ID. If you see the selection says 24. There are 24 characters coming as part of incoming message. If truncation needs to be done on this as part of the specification from the end application, what is going to happen? You will take first 9 characters. Let's see where is 9 characters. And the role of integration engine would be to take the 9 characters and add it with hash, which will tell the end application that the data after this has been truncated. Now overall, if you see the length, it is 10 characters. Selections is 10. There is an NT segment, which is a comment segment. Doctor can add the comment. Let's say the report looks good and prescription or medication is given to the patient. Now, if someone will parse this data, this will be considered as first component. This is the entire first component, and within that component, this is the first subcomponent. This is the second subcomponent. Makes sense? This is an example I'm taking. HSN has defined on the same lines escape sequences. It is on the same lines how you do escape sequences in the URL encoding. What they have done is they have told, in case you have a pipe coming in the report, for example, there is a pipe also here. And let's talk about caret also is present here. Now, how do you handle it? What you will do is, rather than sending it like this, you have to send it to the end application. For me, send it is /t/. For pipe it is /f like this. For caret it is this one. This is how you can handle it. For truncation it is /l. You can add, I think I have not written here. It is slash. And in case there is a slash also which is coming, which you need to escape, you can use /e/. That is what it is there. And another thing which HL7 has done is, in case, let's say there is another NT segment where you want to tell the end application something in bold. Let's say the report is critical. I don't know what criticality is there in the report. And you want to highlight it, that it should come on the application in the bold. You have seen. I'm not sure if anybody has seen the reports. If you have an abnormal range, let's considering the example of SPO2, SPO0 ran 5 to 100. Even if you consider heart rate, I think for heart rate it is 62 something to 90. If your heart rate, let's say you went for running and your heart rate is now 130, that will be considered as abnormal heart rate, or it is below 60. It is again abnormal heart rate. And now let's say there is those sort of observations you want to highlight. Report is critical as, or let's say SPO2 is 85. Now, in this case, if you want to highlight some of the text, they have also mentioned that you can highlight using /h. What you have to do is wherever you want to highlight, for example, you want to highlight the entire thing, you can start with this, and where you want to stop, you can add /n. Makes sense. This way, the report, which will be displayed onto the application for the provider, this string will be marked into the bold. Next topic is, can I change the encoding characters? Answer is definitely yes. We can change the encoding characters, but it will change the entire meaning of the message. What it means considering this same sample. Let's consider this. We have pipes, caret. Considering caret, if let's say I am changing the encoding characters from default to, let's say I'm only changing the caret to an asterisk. I'm saying asterisk is my component separator. The entire parsing logic for you will work on asterisk. Wherever you will see caret, you have to change it with asterisk. Or wherever. Now I will not do it for all, but this is how badly it will impact you. Those are the default encoding characters given by H7v2. HL7v2 says you can stick to it, but if you feel you need to change it, you can change it. In my 11 years, I have not seen any implementation where it has changed, but there is a provision that you can change it. The next one is on the same lines. There is a segment separator, which is /rcan. Can we change it to, let's say, I want /n. Can we change it to /n? What? What can be the answer? Answer is no. The HL7v2 says you cannot change the segment separator. I'm giving you provision to change the encoding character, but not the segment separator. This was all about encoding characters. Now let's see that I think two more topics escape characters we talked about. I think this is more of a technical topic. Well, let's look into it now. If you want, I will. I will showcase it practically. It will. If you guys give me 1 minute, it will not take much time. In the meantime, if you want to learn Rhapsody, just see what things I am doing. It is. It might be high level, but considering that there are things to be done, you can look into this play. Thank you. Thank you. If someone is telling you something, the other party, if they know, nod their head or say yes, no, maybe, and they understood that is the way people will understand. You understood the topic. Now, on the same lines, there is acknowledgement present in HL7 V2. I'm just creating an interface for you, a small interface. Let me just do it on my local, only save. This is all drag and drop. I have not written any parsing logic, nothing of that sort. This Rhapsody provides all the provision I have just taken. I've just taken this thing, schema definition, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it. Now this again will be a problem. Move up. I am just going to send one sample and I will showcase how acknowledgement works. There are modes of acknowledgement. We will definitely learn about it to sort of more acknowledgement modes. But let's first understand how acknowledgement looks like, how it works. Can you guys see this is a test tool within my company? This is a test tool, or you can call it as an emulator. Now considering this test tool as a hospital information system, which is sending me a patient admit notification message, which is a HL7 message, how I will respond back. Schema is already defined by HL7. If you see the screen, there is some response received from the integration engine. I am generating this response. Considering the data here, whenever you will send me this data, what will happen is I will respond back. This is the response which I'm sending you. How will you know that this is an acknowledgement message? We'll talk about this is a type of message. We'll talk about the trigger event. How do I know that the acknowledgement which I have received is for which transaction? this is a message 10. If this is a message, control ID, which is the transaction ID in HL7v2 terms, it is the transaction ID. In response, MC22. How do I know MC22 will hold this? It is the specification. If you go to MSR segment, MS part 2 will talk about the control ID for which the response is being received. That is where the control ID from the source message is passed on to the acknowledgement message and it is sent back to the source. This is considered to be coming from hospital information system. This is coming from the integration engine. I will show you how it is being done. It's just a filter pre-available or already available within Rhapsody. You just need to provide the schema definition. And then it will validate also. I am not doing a strict validation. That is a separate topic. How do we do strict validation? I'm not doing a strict validation. I'm just saying what? Whenever you receive a message, you just give me a positive acknowledgement, and this is where the positive acknowledgement is generated and then it is sent back to the source. Now talking about the acknowledgements. In this case, there are two sort of acknowledgements which are available in H7v2. Acknowledgement mode. One is original mode acknowledgement. Second is enhanced mode acknowledgement. Talking about this original mode acknowledgement versus enhanced mode acknowledgement. First thing, this is mostly used. This is rarely used. We'll talk about why. Now let's look into why this is mostly used. Considering this to be the hospital information system, this to be the integration engine, this to be the end application. Whenever the hospital will send the data, integration engine itself will send you the acknowledgement back saying that I have received it. But there is no guarantee that I have processed it to the end application, which means original mode is sort of it is giving you a receipt of receiving that data, but there is no guarantee that the end application will consume your data. Because of X or Z reasons might be, this application is down. Considering this application is down, this data needs to be sent back either from this or integration engine provides provision to re-inject the data also. Now, whenever HL7 message comes, integration engine will provide the response back immediately. When I say immediately, there are three codes present for acknowledgement. One is AA is application except AA is application error. R is application reject. In my case, whatever I showed you, I am doing a normal validation, where I'm just saying whether I received the message or not. I will just send you application except S. When the application is down, it comes from the network layer. You need to configure this acknowledgement code in the network layer. That is the only way you can get A. Other than that, you will never see A coming from the integration engine or from the application. A very common example. Let's say considering a message needs to be of a special size, let's say 5 character. If I am sending more than 5 character, I can do EDA validation. Once the EDA validation is done, I can send you A, or also in very basic. If I have to do it easily, I will just do it for you. This window is very irritating. Now, every time I will send a message, considering the server is doing strict validation, I will get AR. Now, if I will just do disconnect, configure, if I will just send it again, can you see? I received the A. Or my integration engine now is doing a strict validation. Again, that's an absolute concept. How I did? You don't have to worry. If I am doing a strict validation, then I will be getting a R as a response. Let's talk about one more thing. If you want to see trigger events, I'm using ACK. ACK will hold segments like this. Now, very important part. If the source application wants to know what all are the issues in the incoming message, you can use the ERR segment. Considering SH is mandatory, MSA is mandatory, the Rhapsody. Rhapsody is only working on creating two segments which are mandatory, and within those two segments, whether it is considering all the fields, that is up to there are many fields if you see, but it has taken the control ID and some text message, the acknowledgement code and the message control ID. Other than that, it has not taken anything, because all of them, either it says it has been withdrawn or it is either optional. Whether you can populate it. Definitely, you can go ahead and populate all of these, including the error code. For example, you can tell the end application your msh.10 holds more than 10 characters, which is not accepted by the end application. Something of that sort. You can provide a textual message. If you click on it, it has these many. Where is it? These many fields you can talk about, and it is repeating. Interestingly, if you see it is optional, but repeating it is 0 is to star. You can write for msh.10. This is the issue. msh.11. This is the issue. PID segment. These many are the issues. Again, on whatever segments you are validating, you can write the entire message set while you are parsing the data. This is where the message is getting generated, and it is also on the same lens. It is also a trigger event which is available. You just need to know what is the specification, and now you know how to read a specification, write a specification. It is a code. You need to write a piece of code that the data will be transmitted into the proper shape and form. Now coming back to the acknowledgement. Whenever the HL7 will be sent from hospital, integration engine will send the response back immediately, rather without sending it to the destination application. In this case, the data loss can happen. For example, when I say data loss, if there are test cases which are not tested during or before the deployment onto the production server, that is where I can think other than that. If everything is tested, all test cases are tested within the hospital and the end application, this will never fail. The plus point is the hospital information system, or the EMR, does not have to wait for the acknowledgement till the data is processed through the end application. Because this integration engine layer needs to build the contract, then this will send the acknowledgement back. Then this integration engine will send the acknowledgement back to this. In this case, it is the immediate acknowledgement which integration engine will provide it to the source that I have received it. You don't worry about it now. This is the original mode acknowledgement. This is a request coming from source. If I was not doing a strict validation, I got to accept. This is the coder accept acknowledgement. This is when I was doing strict parsing. I got accept reject, application reject. This is how the sample is built. Again, as I've told you, there are more segments to the sample. Feel free to add it. This is a Rhapsody generated default acknowledgements. If you want to build enhanced acknowledgements, you can definitely use code also to build it. In this case, we are not looking into the enhanced mode acknowledgement, how enhanced mode is different from original mode. In this case, whenever hospital is sending data to integration engine will immediately send the acknowledgement back. But in this case, the acknowledgement which will be sent by the integration engine will talk first, is enhanced mode. Now the acknowledgement, the first level acknowledgement which will be sent by integration engine is CA, CR or CE, which is commit accept, commit reject or commit error. Meaning wise, it is saying that I have accepted your message, rejected your message based on validation. This is from the network layer. You need to configure it in the network layer. 3 levels of 3 types of acknowledgement can come. Let's consider this is accepted. In this case, hospital information system got a CA. Now, once the CA is sent, integration engine will, let's say this application works on JSON. This here HL7 to JSON conversion will happen on integration layer. Once the JSON is converted, application will now receive it. Now application has to respond back. There will be some, let's say it's a AP, I call application, we return the status code. Based on the status code, let's say it is a 200. Considering first case, it is 200, which is success. This data comes back. Integration engine will build another level of acknowledgement, which is a second level of acknowledgement, which will talk about A, or A, E. It is the same thing which is sent here. Now based on this end, application can understand source, application can understand that an application has also received my data. Or in case the application, the app2 which is an application, throw out 400 bad request. What is the status code? Integration engine will send it to the hospital information system. In this case, there are 2 levels of acknowledgement which comes from integration engine. One is at the receiving part, and then after transmitting the data to the end application, then another level of acknowledgement comes. Why? This is why this is rarely used. It is because it is more complex. When I say complex, it is time consuming, and in the hospital environment, the feed comes at a pretty fast rate. They might not be able to track also. This is where the integration, when you are doing it, has to be properly, thoroughly tested with the source and the destination parties involved. That is where max integrations, which I have done, it is always original mode acknowledgement. There are issues, that is, we're just considering, let's say, the same example control, and don't say, if considering this is hospital information system integration engine over here, this is end application. Now hospital information system send the data. It is working on original mode. You got AR which is accept application accept. Now this while data was sent to this. There was a network issue. This data was never sent. Integration engine provides you notifications that the data is being queued up in the communication point which is connecting to the end application. That is where integration engine plays vital roles. For example, if I will show you Rhapsody. Here are the communication points which are being either on the input side or on the output side. Here you can see everything in queue out, queue everything. You can build notifications on top of it that even if there is more than 5 failures, see you cannot put notifications on 5 because the hospital load, because the new requirement, once it came to us that hospital wants to send a 60-40 messages within 1 second. It's a huge number. Whether we can process it or not, we have also not tried it. It's a new requirement, we just have to try it out. That is where you need to find a valid number that above this number, if there is a queue within a particular component, this is a HTTP client which is sending it to the end application. You can send a notification email to someone that there is a queue. Kindly check. If there is a failure, you can alter that communication point. Tell the end application this is a failure we are getting. Can you enable or did you reboot the server? That is the most of the time things happen. They, without even informing the integration engine person, they will reboot the server and then the component that does not come up automatically. You have to call them. There is a failure we are seeing and you have to bring it up. That is where integration engine will queue everything. And then once the connection is back, it will process the entire thing again. Source does not have to send anything because everything is queued here. If you understand wraps any integration engine, I'm not saying wraps any integration engine uses your disk space. Whatever transaction you receive, it will create entry onto your disk. When I say disk, it is your hard drive. Wherever you have installed the integration engine, be any Rhapsody, Mirth, Ensemble, CorePoint, it will create a file onto your directory. And whenever you want to process it again, there is a provision to pre-process the transaction. I will show you a small one which I have, which we only did it. This is what we sent. If you want to resend it again, there is a button available. You can just say reinject. It is now there were 2 transactions. Now it will show you 3. And here also it will tell you this is how Rhapsody is behaving. It is saying reinjected to the engine. This is the source message ID. All of these transactions, I can show you also it. These are available on my disk also. But that is the Rhapsody or the integration layer concept that everything is queued. That is where a very important concept in integration layer comes into picture, which is archive cleanup, that you cannot hold the data for lifelong because the more number of transactions which will come, it will just keep on adding a space to your disk. That is where usually for our implementations, we provide archive cleanup for 90 days that we will hold your data for 90 days. In case you don't find any data being processed for a patient, kindly report within 90 days. Otherwise, our integration engine will clear the data from the disk. And then there is no way. Then you only have to send it. Most of the time, I will tell you there is a project which is ongoing in my project. There is we as a product based company, we have multiple product clients. I will talk about one where this sort of issue happens, where when we are sending the data, because this end application is also not fully full-fledged built. This is also built within our company, Philips. This is not full-fledged built there. They are, anybody understands that. It's a pre-deployment model where we give our all applications to the hospital that they can use it and can provide the feedback. That is the F we are doing. Hospital is sending the feed. There are chances that all the business logics are not validated within the application or even in the integration engine. And there was a scenario which I faced, I think last week, that hospital is saying we sent the data to, this is an analytics data, analytics application for cancer research. The data which was sent, it is 90 days. They have not even seen on the dashboard. Then it was again on the same lens. Archive cleanup has run. We cannot send the data again from the integration layer. Hospital needs to send it back. Those sorts of issues happens, but there is always a provision to track it. Now in this case, tracking ways. In the integration engine, you cannot track it because the data is clear. We need to request hospital to send it back. And again, a hospital should be aware that if they are not seeing the data, and they should immediately report it. Let's consider here the message fields. Then it is the role of integration engine to if you're working on original mode acknowledgement here, you got definitely you got because we are not doing strict validation. Now here, when you say the user is not found, then this has to be rectified on the integration layer. Now there are two ways. One is there has to be a response code coming back from the end application. That is definitely coming. Now what is the what? On what basis the user? When you say user not found, what is the next step to fix it? That also has to be implemented on the integration. There are phases. I will talk about two companies' experience. Let's put it in this way. My previous experience goes with CTS Tech, where I was doing results and orders implementation on again in integration layer only. Talking about I will talk about integration engine and will not take the names. Now there is a lab with there. It can be any lab you mass. I worked with these labs. Base data election, any lab Sunquest also. Okay. Now, in this case, what happens when integration engine? What happens is there is a kickoff call. This is the procedure which happens in which was happening in CTS Tech. There is a kickoff call. You understand the requirements that you are only going to work on ORM messages and ORU messages. That order will be placed in the EMR. It will be flown to the laboratory. Result will come back from laboratory. It has to be flown back to the hospital information system. Then you need to look into the specification of both. If what you will receive, what you have to send, what you will receive from lab, and what you have to send it back to the hospital information system. Once that is done, then there will be test cases. When I say test cases in this case, what usually happens is hospital. Hospital tells that these are the frequent orders placed in our application, it's a hospital. Placed in the hospital. And let's say there are thousands of orders. When I say thousands of orders, it can be a blood test, lipid panel test, anything, urine culture tests, anything which happens in a hospital, and the hospital can administer that test for a patient and it will flow to the laboratory. Out of those 1,000 tests, whichever is most frequent, and the hospital has that list. Those tests are created as a test cases. Those test cases will be initiated before the pre-deployment. There will be a staging. Now another thing is there will be a dev box. There will be where developer will write the integration code. Then unit test after reading the specification. Once he is satisfied, it will move to the stage box. Once they stay on the staging box, hospital information will send the live feed. When the live feed will come, laboratory will have the stage. All of this will happen in the stage environment. Hospital will send the data to the stage environment where the actual code is there. And all the test cases now here, hospital will send the frequent orders which they think are more relevant to their organization. That test cases will be sent to the stage environment. We will send it to the laboratory stage environment. It will be a dummy environment. Then reports from lice will come for those orders. Now, in this case, patient does not have to go. It is just a testing we are doing. There are dummy patients created. No patient has to go and give the blood, urine or whatever order is there. Or a laboratory will send the results back. And now integration engine will formulate the data model as per HIs and will send it to HIs. This way, all of the majority of the test cases are already covered. And when both the parties are satisfied with the testing, they have to sign user acceptance form. There is a form which both the parties will sign that we are good with this. That and we are concluding, we are moving it to the production. That is where the data is moved to the production. And then the actual data from hospital comes to the integration engine. In that case, the patient will go to the laboratory and give the specimen, and then the actual report will come back. Rarely you will find that you will say the considering lab works on JSON, and rather than using medical record number, they have used MR. That will never happen. Second case where I am currently working, we build products. We don't do deployments in this phase. What we do is we gather the requirement. We build the interface. Whatever I am doing, we build the interface, reading the specification from source and destination. Source means what source will send. Destination means what we have to send it to the destination. Now, we will get the samples from the source and we will get the actual application from destination. We can say a beta version of that application. In this case, the source samples. You can definitely trigger it via this test tool, whether it's XMJSON. Even Rhapsody has a provision to transmit data using the pollers. You can send it data from the source, then the application you already have. End-to-end connectivity will always do, and you will test all the use cases. Then we will have a release. When this product will be released, then whenever a purchase happens for that product, then that deployment happens on a staging box. Hospital wants to first test it on the stage box, and when they are again, you will be signed. Once the UTA is signed, then they will move it to the production. There are rare chances that attribute mismatch can happen. And talking about the use case, I think that was hidden, where it says the user is not found. In that case is what happens is the response code which comes back. The integration engine needs to do the error handling where it says user not found. What is the next step? First create the user. Once the user is created, a successful response comes back, and then send that same transaction back here, and then send the response comes back, and then the integration engine will discard it. That is how the integration engine layer plays a vital role in positive scenarios and negative scenarios. This is a very basic use case where you say user is not found. One more point is integration engine also has a stager database. It is not only that you will just send the data, and every time integration engine has to access data from hospital. No, not like that. If you're seeing my screen considering, let's rename these also. This is source. This is, let's consider, destination. I'm just using English terms. I have not written a code, just validate. Now considering sources sending your data, you build a contract here also. I will add something. I will say destination contract. In JSON whatever. I have built a contract. I have sent it to the application. Now this application sent me a data where it says, let's add it, it's already there. It says patient not found. As per you, what we need to do is we need to query is and get the details back. What I'm doing is I'm building a Kura OM message. What I'm going to do is I will send it back to the hospital information system. They have to expose the I. If it is a TCP, we will send it on a TCP. If it is a APA, we need to hit that APA. Now let's hit that APA. Without writing a logic, I'm just showing you a, I would say, skeleton structure. ATP client. Where did I add it? This is input test. We have. I am going to hit. I have whenever I have built the OI message, I will hit the EMR endpoint to get this. And all of this will work. Definitely it will work. I can show it to you also. Once the response comes back, it is an out in mode and that's TTP. Always says you send something, you will get back as a response. It's a get call or a post call. You will definitely get something. Once you get the details back, you will use those details and build the contract back. Or let's say you will get back. Create patient contract. Then you will hit the destination again. Once the destination, you can join directly here. Once the destination is hit, you will get the patient created and then it will. Whatever scenarios you want to do, you can do it. It's a thread based. It is one thread. It will do in whatever sequence you want, whatever steps you have, you can do it as per your convenience. Whatever, even if you want to do something else also you can. You can do parallel processing also. The application specification, for example, when this specification, this destination application specification, you will read, they will tell you that the patient needs to be registered first and then you need to send the data. This is a very common scenario which happens. Two things you can do. First, query the destination system. If the patient is found, then directly send the contract. If patient is not found, then you build the patient first and then send the contract to them. They will also expose it. How do you need to validate the patient? Either you will send me that data only, and I will tell you in the response code that patient not found, and then you do it. This is all written in the specification. And those are, I'm not sure if you have heard of the term Swagger documents. We use Swagger documents, which will a very easy one. I'll show you how the application tells that this is what they're expecting. This is some open API. If you see there is some /pet or pet by find. This is a get call you need to do. This is the context path you will be framing. And if you just open it, it will tell you what all parameters it is expecting. And in return, what is the status code you can get in if it is 200. It is a successful and the response will look something like this. 400 it will tell you invalid status code. All of these APIs you need to expose. Once you expose those AP, when I say expose, it is just you need to do a documentation and give it to someone that other party can read and can implement it. Delete a pet. How do you delete a pet? Let's see if there's a considering upload image to be a store. Is there? Store order by user. User logout, user create, user is not create with list something. They are. This is the list you can consider. You can send patient data, something like this, and it will create a patient. How? And this is the context. But you need to use a post method. There is no request body something. This is the example they have given. This is how the specification plays a vital role. Every time you are working in healthcare, it is always reading the specification correctly, and then you will be able to enable the data flow between the applications. In HSN, I think this is the last topic which I will be covering for HSN. Then we will look into FHIR, a small topic which is localization. Considering, I will give you a live example which we encountered recently. It was somewhere in North America. We already have an implementation with PACS where we are sending an order, data and the PACS. Then the patient goes and capture the images and PACS will store it. Then I think there is a rule which is brought up. I am not sure which state, which country, which city. There is a rule which is brought up within that region where preferred gender and legal gender needs to be sent to the end application. Now, what is localization? Why I am giving you this example? Localization HL7 v2 has defined a standard. How many of you think that it will accommodate all over world's use cases? That there is a field, there is a component, there is a subcomponent, which will be available within in either of the versions of HL7 v2, where you will be able to map some data which is of your interest. We will definitely require some sort of flexibility using which, if there is no field available within HL7 v2 or a field or a component or a subcomponent, then how do we map it? That is where localization concept comes into picture. You will definitely hear people saying Z segments. Z fields, you can add components, subcomponents also. It works on the same lines. We will first look into Z fields and Z segments. Or the two components and subcomponents, you will definitely be able to crack it by yourself. Now considering what is this Z thing. What HL7 v2 says is, in case you don't have a first, we will talk about Z segment. In case you don't have a placeholder, I will say placeholder within the defined standard. You can use Z segment. You can use Z segment. Now, how do you build the Z segment? How end application will know what is Z segment? What is the meaning? Is there a specification you need to do? Answer is definitely yes. There are a couple of rules for Z segments. The rule is you can only add Z segment at the last of the specification. What it means? If you consider a D T1 considering, you need to just consider the same example legal gender and preferred gender, which hospital will be capturing, and PACS also needs that information. There is already. People can tell me that there is already a field for legal gender and preferred gender, and it is PID 8. I will go to 2. It is already there and it is a vice data type. Hospital can define M for male, F for female. What is legal gender and preferred gender? That is the use case which we need to achieve. Only thing is, we cannot add legal gender and preferred gender here because if you send legal gender, it is of one character. If you send one value here, F, nobody will understand whether it is administrative sex, legal gender, or preferred gender. Now, how do you handle it? To handle it, what you need to do is, this is a specification. One more back. This is a specification for ADT-1 notification. And what H7 says is, you can add a Z segment at the last of the specification and you need to prepare a specification for the same. Now how do you do it? Here you're considering this is editable. You need to add zsex. Now what is this z? I would put it into Encode bracket. What it says is you already know that a segment ID is always 3 characters. Same goes for Z segment. 1 character is already given. That is why I added ZZ in the angle bracket, that you can add anything. It can be an alphanumeric thing. You can add 1, you can add 1 or something, you can add anything, and it will be your own Z segment. Now what you have to do, something similar to this, you have to say ZDS. You need to give a name, my custom segment. Now you need to tell what is optionality. You can definitely tell that all implementation will not use, but it can come. Can it repeat? It is on you, based on your requirement. I would say it is non-reputable. I will add a hyphen. Now considering how the segments are written, you need to define the data within this segment, ZDS1. Same thing how we did it, how we read or how we view the data here. You need to give a name. For example, I will say legal gender. Then what is there? It is of, let's consider it is of 4 or 10 characters. It is of data type. I will say it is of a string data type. It is considering it is required. It is required. And now we have ZDS2. Preferred gender. It is also of 10 characters and it is of string data type. And it is of string data type and it is also required. Once you do this thing and are considering, you did this and you added ZDS here. And once you add ZDS here, then you will be able to transmit legal gender and preferred gender. Now your legal gender can say male. This can say female. Next is talking about Z field. It is also on the same lines. What it means is you can extend any field. Now, when you want to extend a field, when you want to extend a segment, answer or the option is totally on you. Now considering a field, consider this name only. PID segment says PID. PID5 is the name. Considering this PID segment, there are 15 components within the PID5 field. Now, even if you think that this does not hold good, 15 components are not good enough for you, you still have some additional data. What is that you can do? On the same lines, what you can do is H7v2 says you can extend any field only at the last. What it means is you cannot add a component before if you are working on 2.6 version of, sorry, this is 2.8. If you are working on 2.8 version of HL7 VT2, you can create a component at PID 516, but not before it, or you cannot shuffle anything which is predefined. Now what you can do is, if you have some data now, let's consider this. 15 components are not good enough for you. You can define your own 16th component. Call it as custom something. If you have a name, you can give it custom component. Define if it is, what is this? This is length. I will say this is 10 characters. This is of string data type. It is optional. And repeatability, it cannot happen. Then whenever you are in the 15th, this is by default, I will just add random characters. Consider, this is the 16th component which I have mapped it. You can add my custom data. Anything. It has to be 10 characters. I think this is more. I will just reduce something. My custom. This is how you can add it. Can I remove all of these components? Can I just say backspace and add it like this? It has to come in the last part. And if we delete it, it will be considered as, let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th and 9th component always says it is name context. But what we are sending it is my custom field extension. That is where you cannot omit the empty fields because the data is present at the last. A very simple concept of batching, considering hospital wants to send bulk messages which will never happen. I have not seen in this thing happening. But in case you find it, what is the structure you can expect? Or you have to frame it. What is the structure you can expect? I didn't find this structure on characteristics. That is why I am opening this book. It is also on the same lines. We did exercise yesterday. This is optional. This is optional. This is repeating. When we say this is repeating, this will start with BAs again. All the name of the segments are mentioned here. What is the structure of this? That you can definitely get on characteristics, or you can open BS segment. You will get the details of BS segment here and the outcome of this. This is one message. This is second message. This is third message. This is fourth message. Batch is ending. Then the file is ending. How the sample will look like. This is a file header segment, batch header segment, one message, second message, third message. Then your file trailer, segment FTS will come, BTS will come, then FTS will come. At the last it will be BTS and FTS. That is what I wanted to showcase. That, in case you find or you have a concept where a batching needs to be done, this is the concept you can use for batching. Now the end application will pass each message one by one and will send the response as a batch. Again, SA, MS, SHIMESA will come. MSA, SHIMESA will come in the control ID, will tell the acknowledgement is for what message. And reading about it, how do I know it is all written here somewhere? A batch is a batch contains no zero nor something. All of the theory part you can read in the control book. But practical wise, that is how it will be implemented. Can give you one more example. It's a live example from my recent project. This is a hospital information system. This is on premise IB, which is my project. This is another cloud instance of my project. I will put it into cloud. Sorry, my drawing is really poor. But if you consider this, and let's consider the end application. Now considering this, there was a scenario, as I have already told you that there was a scenario that we need to process 60-40 messages per second. And processing of 60-40 messages per second would mean that this is my on-premise, which is a physical software. It is also physical software, but it is deployed onto the cloud. This is cloud. This means 640 times I have to initiate a transaction from on-premise to the cloud box. That is where there was a thought process in the mind. Can we do a batching? Can we do a batching? I am just using a structure. Can we use a batching? And in that batching, we will be only hitting this cloud box once. The reason why I'm saying we will hit only once rather than 60-40 times was every time you need to hit this box, you need to hit an intermediary IAM layer, which is a token-based authentication. For that, also considering a user, let's consider this IAM also. If anybody knows, you need to configure your username and password here. Hit the IAM server with username and password. IAM will give you a token back. 60-40 times it was hitting the IAM, and after getting the token we were not catching it, just FLI. There is a catching mechanism also. You can cache the token that was not yet implemented. Considering that scenario, it was hitting 60-40 times the IAM server, 60-40 times then the cloud box. Then, because of these performance issues, we thought, can we do a batching? That was a thought process which came into mind. We have yet not implemented and yet not have decided on whether we have to do it or not. Just a thought. I just shared it with you. Just an example. We'll start with basics of FHIR, just like how I introduced HL7 to you. We will just start our touch base. What is FHIR and how it is different from HL7 v2? Why people are preferring FHIR? Can FHIR replace LCM v2 or vice versa? We will discuss all of this in detail. This is a standard which is created by Graham Greave. I don't even know what year. You can. That's a theoretical question. You can figure it out. That is a standard which is created by Graham Greave and adopted by HL7. What happens is there was a Graham Greave saw issues with HL7 v2. We will talk about whatever the issues. Graham Greave saw issues in HL7 v2 as a standard. And then he thought there can be another standard which can help in the faster interoperability. That is where he created a standard. He called it as FHIR. Then when the FHIR gained popularity, HL7 adopted that standard. That is how FHIR came into picture. The full form of FHIR is Fast Healthcare, Interoperability, Operability Resources. This is the full form. Why this full form came into picture? I will talk about it. I will come to fast at the last. Healthcare is because this standard will be used for transmitting the clinical data from one application to another. That is why healthcare comes into picture and clinical data. When it is coming into picture, it is all about healthcare applications. That is why healthcare term is there. Interoperability. This is a standard for interoperability. That is where interoperability keyword is there. Resources, FHIR works on resources. FHIR works on resources. Now coming to what is fast. For me, you might find different definitions for this fast. For me, fast is faster in creating the data processing pipeline. I will tell you the reason why this is fast. Considering this is the hospital information system, and let's consider there is another stager or there is another application which is working as a subset of this application. Now, if a doctor considering order this order this. Now, let's consider this is app 1, this is app 2. If hospital information system, this is a hospital information system, wants to send data to app 2 and they're only interested in creating a patient. Creating a patient means they will only require some subset of patient demographics, MMR. If they're only interested in the creating a patient only using the demographics of the H7v2, what will happen is you will have to work with. Let's go back to the specification one more time. Let's say registering a patient. Even if you look into it, you have to use MSH segment. I've added NSH. You can add multiple pipes. You can think of that. It is populated. Considering that if there is an EVN also required, EVN pi, then there is PID required. PID pi, and there is a PV1 also required. P1 also required. Just to transmit data which is present only as part of PID segment. Minimum set you have to create is this much. Makes sense? Or I'm just making it extra things for you because these are the mandatory segments and there will be mandatory fields within the segment. You need to populate it minimum. If I have to just send demographics for creating a patient, I need to send this much data set with the fields populated. Now what FHIR says is I have self-contained resources. Every time you will hear FHIR, I will be talking about resources. I have self-contained resources which will be unique and will only talk about that context only. If I am talking about patient, I don't have to work with a message. I don't have to work with EVN. I don't have to work with PV1. I will only talk about the patient context. That is where I will talk about R4 release. R5 is pretty new. We'll look in the R4. There is no difference will be there in reading the specification or writing the specification concept-wise. Everything will be same for you. R4, it is released for, I will talk about what is this release. Also in R4, they have created 145 resources. I would say 145 distinct resources and each resource has a unique context. If there is a patient resource, it will only talk about patient. If there is an observation resource, it will only talk about observation. How the linkage happens between this observation belongs to, for example, observation. Is there a heart rate observation? How? Then that observation resource will tell that it has a reference to patient or it belongs to patient. That is the referencing concept. We will learn about it. That is why if FHIR says that if you have to work with only patient data, you use patient resource and you just transmit the data and application will be able to consume that data and will be. You don't have to worry about SH8. You don't have to worry about E, V, and you don't have to worry about PV1 as is available in HL7v2. That is why the amount of data payload which you have to work with it is minimal. And that is where the interoperability is faster. That is why fast keyword comes into picture. As per my experience goes, even if you read the documentation, they will say fast is because interoperability is fast. They will not tell you why it is fast. This is an example I have chosen for you. Why it is fast? There is no predefined module which can do the conversion. I will tell you a very simple example. First thing, when you say HL7v2 versus FHIR, I have already told you what is what. Now a base definition. I have told you both are independent. Nobody is stepping on the other standard. Both are independent. Can I just send replace FHIR? Answer is no. Is there a predefined library or predefined tool which can convert HL7v2 to FHIR? Answer is no, because I will tell you why. There is no predefined library. Even if you work with I think Microsoft has hosted some public tool where you can just put your HL7v2, it might give you FHIR. But what I am saying is it might not work in almost all of your implementation. Considering every application or every hospital will tweak the HL7v2 standard. This is going to happen definitely because they will mark couple of fields as mandatory, couple of fields as optional, which are already optional. Whatever mapping sheet HL7 to FHIR Microsoft or whatever tool you find online have defined might work for one of your clients but will not work for all of your clients. Now how you can do this conversion. We will definitely talk about it. Is there a predefined sheet which is there? Some sort of help is there. We will learn more about it when we will go in depth in the HL7 to FHIR also. Both are independent. Now talking about, we worked on versions of HL7v2. Max they are to 2.6. They have not upgraded because all of those are legacy code they don't even want to touch. That is where the versions of V2 is 2.2, 2.9. FHIR releases are also available. How it looks like is the name of the releases are. I would put the full form in just a minute. FHIR releases there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. There are 6 releases done till date. The release timeline is for 2 years. Probably this might be in 2011 again, a theoretical question. We can check on Google. DST1 was the first release of FHIR. DST1 stands for Draft Standard for Trial Usage. Number 1 is the Release 1. DST2 is Draft Standard for Trial Usage 2. Then they found that D can be removed because now the standard is bit stable. They removed the D keyword and it is Trial Standard for Trial Usage 3. R stands for Release, which is Release 4. There was a minor changes or bugs, bug fixes or hotfix. You can say which was done on R4 and minor release was done, which is R4B. Now the latest release, which was I think in this year, it is R5, which is the release 5. These are the 5 different versions of FHIR which are released till date. How do you navigate to all of these? That is the only thing we will see, and we will not cover any other topic. How do you navigate to any of the topics or any of the releases? If you go to Chrome, if you just search for FHIR, it will always take you to the latest release version. If you just click on it, it will always take you to the latest release version. I will show you how it is telling you it is R5. How you can track back. There are buttons available when you will go to the home page. There are buttons available R4B, R4, R3 or people call it. The actual name is STU3. The actual name for the R2 is DSTU2. You can click on it, but how to traverse to DSTU1? If you want to traverse to DSTU1, if you see, the beautification of the pages have been done. Now let me show you how the pages were initially. This is STU1. Did they rename it to seriously R1? Let's see. They renamed it to R1, but the actual name is DSTU1. If you click on this, this is how the initial page was. We will learn all about pages, traversing through the pages. What is there in each page? What is the resources? If you see, there are a list of resources present. We will talk about all of these links also. This is just traversing on the FHIR page. This is T1. If you see that this is the list of resources which are there. I don't think it is more than 100, but then I will talk about R5 because that is the latest release. I'm not on R5. But there will be no difference in reading or writing the specification. I will talk about R4. Go back to both. This is Did We Move? It is R4 release. If you click on resources page, the pages are beautified, enhanced. Text is also enhanced. Content is also enhanced. And they have created a tabular format. And there are total 145 resources. The way this is a tabular format categorized in different categories. We will learn about it. If you want to look into the alphabetical order, maturity order, we will talk about what is maturity. Security Standards Committee. All of these are just viewing things. There is a header which you can use to traverse the data or move to one page to another. All of these pages we are definitely going to learn. Just to show you how a specification looks like from, we will not go to characteristic sites. We will only work on original or authenticated HL7 org website for the specifications. We will work on one specification and all of the specifications are also on the same lines. Over here, if you see, this is a patient resource. These are the tabs. We will look into it. There is some use case they have talked about when you can use this resource, when you cannot use this resource. There is the specification, how you used to see. There is the CDA template available. I have a schema file for that. There are CDA validators also, CDA viewer also. There are templates available. You can download it. That will give you what attribute comes where. Even it will give you a tabular format. We just have to work on finding the correct page for finding the CDA directory. Then, once you know what is the specification, what tag will come first, then within the tag, what is a child, it will. It works on the same lines. There will be a tag. There will be a cardinality. There will be a repeatability, and you just have to follow the specification. It is all the standard then. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.